Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasa Tato Jayad Mudirahe Nasta Praeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Seviya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1. The chapter is titled The First Step in God Realization. Text number 39. Sarva Diviti Anubhuta Sarva Sarva Diviti Anubhuta Sarva Atma Yata Swapna Jane Jane Kasite Ki Tam Satyamananda Nidhim Bhajate Na Anyatra Sajedyat Yata Atma Pataha. Sa sarva dhivriti anubhuta sarva Atma yatha swapna jane kasitaika Atma yatha swapna jane kasitaika Tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajeta Na anyatra sajedyata atmapataha Sa sarva dhiviti anubhuta sarva Atma yata swapna jane kasitaikaha Tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajeta Nanyatra sajeda atmavrittaha ita atmapataha. Sa sarva dhivriti anubhuta sarva Atma yata swapna jane kasitaikaha Tam satyamananda nidhim bhajeta Nanyatra sajeda yata atmapataha. Sa sarva dhivriti anubhuta sarva Atma yata swapna jane kasitaikaha Tam satyam anandam nidhim bhajeta Nanyatra sajedayata atmapataha. Jai Prakasho. Sa sarva dhivrite anubhuta sarva Atma yata swapna janae kasitikaha Tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajate Na anyatra sajeda yata atmapataha. Saha, he, the Supreme Person, sarvadhi vrittaha, the process of realization by all sorts of intelligence. Anubhutaha, cognizant. Sarve, everyone. Atma, the supersoul. Yataha, as much as. Swapna jana, a person dreaming. Ikshita, seen by. Ekaha, one and the same. Tam, unto him. Satyam, the supreme truth. Ananda nidhim, the ocean of bliss. Bhajeta, must one worship. Na, never. Anyatra, anything else. Sajat, be attached. Yataha, whereby. Atmapataha, degradation of oneself. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on Him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. Please repeat. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on Him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. Purport. In this verse, the process of devotional service is indicated by the great Goswami Srila Sukadeva. He tries to impress upon us that instead of diverting our attention to several branches of self-realization, we should concentrate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the supreme object of realization, worship, and devotion. Self-realization is, as it were, offering a fight for eternal life against the material struggle for existence. And therefore, by the illusory grace of the external energy, the yogi or the devotee is faced with many allurements which can entangle a great fighter again in the bondage of material miseries. A yogi can attain miraculous successes in material achievements, such as anima and lagima, but by which one can become more minute than the minutest or lighter than the lightest. Or in the ordinary sense, one may achieve material benedictions in the shape of wealth and women. But one is warned against such allurements because entanglement again in such illusory pleasure means degradation of the self and further imprisonment in the material world. By this warning, one should follow one's vigilant intelligence only. The Supreme Lord is one, and His expansions are various. He is therefore the supersoul of everything. When a man sees anything, He must know that his seeing is secondary and the Lord's seeing is primary. One cannot see anything without the Lord's having first seen it. That is the instruction of the Vedas and the Upanishads. So whatever we see or do, the supersoul of all acts of seeing or doing is the Lord. The theory of simultaneous oneness and difference between the individual soul and the supersoul is propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. The Virat Rupa, or the gigantic feature of the Supreme Lord, includes everything materially manifested, and therefore the Virat or gigantic feature of the Lord is the supersoul of all living and non-living entities. But the Virat Rupa is also the manifestation of Narayan or Vishnu. And going further on and on, one will eventually see that Lord Krishna is the ultimate supersoul of everything that be. The conclusion is that one should unhesitatingly become a worshipper of Lord Krishna, or for that matter his plenary expansions, Narayan, and none else. In the Vedic hymns, it is clearly said that first of all, Narayan cast a glance over matter, and thus there was creation. Before creation, there was neither Brahma nor Shiva, and what to speak of others. Sripad Shankaracharya has definitely accepted this, that Narayan is beyond the material creation, and that all others are within the material creation. The whole material creation, therefore, is one with and different from Narayan. Simultaneously, and this supports the Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, philosophy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being an emanation from the glancing potency of Narayan, the whole material creation is non-different from him. But because it is the effect of his external energy, Bahirangi Maya, and is aloof from the internal potency, Atma Maya, the whole material creation is different from him at the same time. The example given in this verse very nicely is that of the dreaming man. The dreaming man creates many things in his dream, and thus he himself becomes an entanglement, seer of the dream, and is also affected by the consequences. This material creation is also exactly a dream-like creation of the Lord, but he, being the transcendental supersoul, is neither entangled nor affected by the reactions of such a dream-like creation. He is always in his transcendental position, but eventually is everything and nothing is apart from him. Right. As a part of him, one should therefore concentrate on him only, without deviation. Otherwise, one is more to be overcome by the potencies of the material creation, one after another. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita as follows: Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamiktam Kalpaha Shaye Punatani Kalpadav Vishijani Aham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, every material manifestation enters into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I again create. The human life, however, is an opportunity to get out of this repetition of creation and annihilation. It is a means whereby one may escape the Lord's external potency and enter into his internal potency. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The First Step in God Realization. Long purport, wonderful purport. Sa sarvadhi vriti anubhuta sarva atma yatha swapna janekasi te kaha tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajetah na anyatra sajet yata atma patah. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on him, the only all blissful absolute truth, otherwise one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. Om Agnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmitanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantakam. So Srila Sukadeva Goswami is summarizing this chapter in this verse. Right. We see in the previous chapter, Parikshit Maharaj is asking 5 questions to Sukadeva Goswami. What are those 5 questions? What to do and what not to do, what to hear, right? Yeah, whom to worship. Yeah, so at the time, especially for a person who is approaching at the time of death. And Sukadeva Goswami begins this chapter by answering these different questions. Initially, he starts this chapter by mentioning what not to do. Right, what not to do. And then he starts talking about what to do, how to concentrate on one's mind. And he starts mentioning about initially starting to concentrate one's mind into different manifestations of the Supreme Lord. Right. So he starts mentioning about the Lord's opulence. The different Lord's opulences. Starting meditation from the lotus feet all the way to the face, that ultimately the entire material creation is a big Virat Rupa, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And here he summarizes his instruction by mentioning that I have just explained to you the gross material gigantic conception of this personality of Godhead. Oh, the previous verse. One who seriously desires liberation concentrates his mind on this form of the Lord. But there is nothing more than this in the material world. Right. But then one should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons creates thousands of manifestations in dreams. So the Lord has many manifestations, right? Millions and millions of manifestations are all manifestations of the Supreme Lord. The external material energy is also the manifestation of the Supreme Lord. The internal energy is also the manifestation of the same Supreme Lord, right? So those are known as different Shaktis of the Lord. Antarangi Shakti or Antarangi Atma Maya means the internal energy of the Lord. Bahirangi Shakti is the external energy of the Lord. And to that Bahirangi Shakti, the Lord creates this entire material world. Right. The entire material world is a creation of the Supreme Lord. And that is his Bahirangi Shakti. Right. Antarangi Shakti and Bahirangi Shakti. And then there is one more Shakti, Tatastha Shakti. Right. As Tatastha Shakti, what does that mean, Tatastha Shakti? The individual soul. The individual soul is a Tatastha Shakti. Why Tatastha Shakti? Because it has been given a minute free will. It has been given a minute free will by which either he can take shelter of the Antarangi Shakti or Bahirangi Shakti. right? And that's what living entities do, right? Mostly they take shelter of the Bairangi Shakti, right? Trivi Gunamai Bhavai, Ebim Sarvam Idam Jagatam, Mohitam Nabi Janati, right? They are bewildered by these three modes of material nature. The three modes of material nature is also Lord's Bairangi Shakti, right? That material nature is also Lord's Bairangi Shakti. But the entire creation takes place from the Supreme Lord. We see Lord Krishna, his first expansion being Lord Balaram, right? And we celebrated recently Balaram Purnima. With the first expansion of Lord Balaram, the only difference between Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna is Lord Balaram is completely whitish in complexion, crystal clear complexion, while Lord Krishna is sham in complexion. Though that is his first expansion, right? And as the first expansion, what does he do? He expands himself further to serve the Lord in different ways. To serve the Lord in different ways. One of his expansion is Shankarshan, right? Mula Shankarshan, original Shankarshan, right? And from that Mula Shankarshan comes the first Chaturvyu expansion of Shankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna and Vasudeva, right? And from that Vasudeva comes Narayan, right? Comes Narayan. From the Mula Shankarshan comes Narayan. And further they expand into second Chaturvyu expansions of Shankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna and Vasudeva. And from the second Shankarshan, Mahashankarshan, comes these three Purusha avatars of the Supreme Lord, right? Which are the three Purusha avatars of the Supreme Lord? Karnodakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu and Shirodakshay Vishnu. Karnodakshay Vishnu is lying in the causal ocean. Why it is called the causal ocean? All the material elements, the 24 material elements are lying in that ocean, right? In the Mahatattva, right? The aggregate of all those material elements are lying in that ocean, right? And then the Lord just glances, like in the Papa Prabhupada mentioned, the Lord just glances on that material energy, right? The Lord glances on that material energy. And what is that loving glance of the Supreme Lord? That's Lord Shiva. Lord himself never comes in contact with the material energy. But his glance, which itself is personified as Lord Shiva, comes in contact with the material energy, right? And each and every element of that material energy, he impregnates each and every atom with, in the form of Shirodakshay Vishnu, the Super Soul, right? And that's how the creation comes into being. From the Mahavishnu, he exhales and all this material universes comes, right? Because where is he exhaling? He is exhaling in the Karana ocean, right? Which is an aggregate of all the material energy, material elements. So when he exhales, all this material universes comes into being. And in that he further expands as Garbhodakshay Vishnu, right? So many manifestations of the Supreme Lord. And that he expands as Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And from his navel comes his lotus flower. The stem of it goes through all the 14 planetary systems of the material universe. So you can imagine that Garbhodaka ocean in that way is all the way at the bottom, right? Lower than Patal, that's where the Garbhodaka ocean is. And from him, this stem of the lotus flower goes to all the 14 planetary systems, right? There are, Earth is in between, the 7th planetary system. There are 6, there are 7 planetary systems below Earth, and then 6 planetary systems above Earth. The planetary systems above Earth is called as heavenly planetary systems. That which is below Earth is called as hellish planetary system, right? Patala, Rasatala, Matala, there's 7 names of those planetary, different hellish planetary systems, right? And the heavenly planetary systems, similarly, going all the way to the Brahmaloka, the end of the stem where the flower comes, the lotus flower, that's the resident place of Lord Brahma. The Lord expands himself as Lord Brahma there. Right. So, but at the same time, the Lord is present in Golokadam. Daily we recite these Brahma Samhita prayers, right? Do Goloka nam nija damni talecha tasya devi maheshari damasu teshu teshu. Right. There is a Devi Dham, there is a Mahesh Dham, and above that there is a Hari Dham, where the Supreme Lord resides. So he is simultaneously present. That's the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Achintya Veda Abheda Tattva. Simultaneously one but different. Simultaneously one but different. Even Sripad Shankaracharya, the propounder of Advaita philosophy, accepts that Narayan is not a creation of his material elements. It's not a material creation, right? It's beyond the material creation. It's the Supreme Lord, right? But Achinta Bheda Abheda Tattva, which is a expansion of complete philosophy, propounder of complete philosophy of Tattva Gyan, basically we understand that we are simultaneously one, but different from the Lord. The soul is also Satchidananda. The Lord is Satchidananda, the soul is also Satchidananda. The living entity is also Satchidananda. But it is infinitesimal. The Lord is infinite. It is infinitesimal. That's why it is Tadastha Sakti. Right? That's why it is Tadastha Sakti. Yes. Infinitesimal. Infinitesimal. So very, very minute. Very, very minute. The Lord is infinite. Right? Just like a drop of ocean in the ocean. Or the sun rays and the sun. Right? When the sun rays comes, we say, oh, the sun came. But the sun rays, minute. Minute spark of the sun globe. Similarly, the living entity is a minute spark of the Supreme Lord. Covered by this gross material body. Bhumi, Apo, Nala, Vayu, Kama, Mana, Buddhi, Evacha. 5 material elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence, and false ego. Right? So the gross material body and the subtle body. And beyond that is a soul. The most subtlest. The most subtle. Right? So, ultimately, when Sukadeva Goswami explained concentrating the mind on different elements, and then thinking about the Virat Rupa of the Supreme Lord, But beyond that is concentrating the mind on the form of the Supreme Lord. Right? Concentrating the mind on the form of the Supreme Lord. So the Lord has an impersonal form, and beyond the impersonal form is the personal form of the Lord. Right? Just like the sun globe, we see the sun is present, it's in the form of a big globe, blazing, fiery globe. And that is the impersonal form of sun. There's an impersonal form of the sun. But beyond that is a personal form of the sun god. Similarly, the Virat Rupa is an impersonal form of the Supreme Lord. Beyond that is a personal form of the Supreme Lord. Right? So, he is mentioning that one should concentrate the mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations. So we saw so many manifestations he's distributing himself. Just as the analogy is given, just as we create so many manifestations in our dreams. Right? In our dreams, we create so many manifestations. And one day we'll be fighting a tiger in our dreams, punching him. Another day something else. Right? That's how, dream. How do we, at each and every moment we dream. In sleep, at each and every moment we dream. Sometimes we remember it, sometimes we don't even remember it. Right? But based on the mind is a repository of all the thought processes. And in the dreaming stage, we will dream of any of those thought processes. If we have watched a lot of material crap from movies and this and that, we'll also dream about like that. If we have focused our mind in always focusing on Krishna consciousness, distributing books, this, that, we'll dream about, I'm distributing books. In dream. We dream about Krishna. Even in the dreams. Because our mind is completely focused on the thoughts of Krishna. But if our mind is focused on other thoughts, we'll create different manifestations. Right? One day we are with the president, another day we are with something else. All these different manifestations on the mind. But ultimately, one should concentrate. Bhajahu re mana sinanda nandana abhaya charana mindare. Right? This is wonderful song by Govinda Das. Bhajahu re mana sinanda nandana abhaya charanarar vindare. Right? Dulabha manava janama satsange tarahu bhava sindure. So this human form of life is very, very rare. Right? There are 4 things common between the animal and the human beings. What are those? Ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunam. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But one thing is more, which on human platform one can inquire about is dharma. Who am I? What is my nature? Right? Human beings, the intelligence of the human beings is more advanced. It is given more inquisitiveness to inquire about that subject matter. If a human being does not inquire about the subject matter, he is compared to just like a two-legged animal. Right? He is compared to the animal. So we need to inquire, who are we? Why are we here? Right? So and then we can meditate our mind onto the supreme form of the Lord. Right? That's the the highest form of yoga, right? Yoginam api sarvesham madagata antaratmanam shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamamataha. Krishna, when he explains different yogic processes in Bhagavad Gita, he starts explaining, okay, karma yoga. You perform your duties, but give your results to the Supreme Lord. Right? In that way, you will become detached to the results. Then, where does the results go? The results go to the Supreme Lord. You don't have any conception of the Supreme Lord. So through your mental speculation, you will think about, the Supreme Lord could be this, the Supreme Lord could be this, the Supreme Lord could be this. That is Jnana Yoga. Right? Then Ashtanga Yoga. Right? Eightfold mystic, eightfold yogic process, so starting with Yam Niyam. Yam Niyam Asan. Right? Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dhyan, and ultimately Samadhi, right? So, in a very, very regulated way, perform the Eightfold Mystic process and concentrate your mind in such a way that ultimately the perfection of Ashtanga Yogi would be, he would see the super soul within his heart. That's the perfection of a Ashtanga Yogi. In between, he could get allured to mystic perfection and stop thinking about the Supreme Lord, or stop thinking about the goal of ultimately meditating on the super soul. Right? He can become lighter than the lightest, right? So, smaller than the smallest. Anima Siddhi, Siddhi, Lagima Siddhi. Right? But the highest process is Bhakti Yogi. Right? Shraddhavan bhajate yomam. Meditating one's mind onto the supreme form of the Lord. Right? And that we see Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Right? Vishnu Smaranam is also a devotional service. Right? And Shravanam Kirtanam, what do? We hear the chanting of the holy name. And when we hear the chanting of that holy name, also our mind focuses on the sound. Now, our ears focus on the sound vibration, our mind ultimately also becomes more and more focused. Right? So, this is a very important process. That's why Sukadeva Goswami ultimately summarizes that this is the first step in God realization. The first step in God realization is completely focus our mind onto the Supreme Lord. And ultimately, it's mentioned, one must concentrate the mind on Him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled. If we don't concentrate our mind onto the Supreme Lord, what would happen? Our mind is very, very chanchal, very, very flickering. If we don't abhyas yogena kaunteya, if we don't practice concentrating the mind, our mind will go here and there. We'll be bombarded by so many thought processes. Right? Oh, I should be going here. Oh, I should be going here. Oh, I should be going here. Oh, I should be doing this. Right? So it will be bombarded by so many miserable events. Right? And ultimately will be misled and will cause our own degradation. Right? We suffer janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, birth, death, old age and disease. But apart from that, we suffer from 3 more miseries. Miseries caused by other living entities, miseries caused by natural calamities, and miseries caused by our own mind. Adhyatmika misery. Misery is caused by our own mind. We suffer. We may have everything, but then also, Mind misery is there, and we suffer from that, causing our own degradation. Why? Because we are not sufficiently focused our mind onto the Supreme Lord, on the form of the Supreme Lord. Are there any questions or discussions or thoughts? No discussion. Granthrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande. So from the second chapter will be the Lord in the heart. We'll start from tomorrow. The Lord in the heart. Yes, the Lord in the heart is Shirodakshai Vishnu, the Super Soul. Yes.
Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Jaya Vrindavan, Sri Govinda Gopinath, Madana Mohan, Sri Govinda Gopinath, Madana Mohan, Sri